Okay, this scenario illustrates another example of how white can win this game by occupying a critical square 2 ranks in front of the pawn, which is the 4th rank. And the problem here is for black is that black cannot get to cannot prevent white from occupying one of the squares on this rank. And once white controls this rank, even if white does not have opposition at that point, white can utilize the tempo of pushing the pawn in order to be able to win the game. And this is precisely why it is important for white to occupy the 4th rank and not the 3rd rank. Because if white does not have the opposition when it's on the 3rd rank, then white cannot win. But if white does not have the opposition on the 4th rank, it can utilize the tempo of pushing the pawn in order to regain the opposition, as we shall see. See, black's best move is to try to at least maintain the opposition by moving into d8 and having an odd number of squares between the kings. And here, once again, black is maintaining the opposition. But at this point, once again, like I said earlier, if the kings were 1 rank backwards, meaning if white were to be on e3 and black on e5, and now it's white's turn to act, then it's a draw. Because black has the opposition, and black will just not let white get in front of their pawn. And so it's going to be a draw. But since white is 2 ranks in front of their pawn, white can simply push the pawn, and now white is forcing black to move, and white is now seizing the opposition by pushing the pawn, and black is forced to move, and now white controls the critical square, and white is able to safely advance the pawn to the queening line. At this point, of course, it's important for white not to push the pawn again, because that will result in a draw. Rather, white needs to push the king first into the 6th rank before it pushes the pawn. Again, the king always has to be in front of the pawn. Once the king falters and remains behind or on the side of the pawn, then it's going to be a draw. Now it's safe to push, and now, of course, this is the best move for black. If black moves into d8, then white will be able to easily control f7 and win. So at this point, black moves into e8, but white seizes the opposition here, and it's an easy win. Now I want to show you, let's go back to the original position, and let's see what would happen if it's black's turn to act. So let's change this. Game type and initial position, and we're going to change this into black's turn to act. Okay, so if it's black's turn to act, black can, let's start this. Okay, black can move into, actually any move, it doesn't really matter, because black needs to make sure that it'll have the opposition when white moves into d2 or f2. So whichever white chooses to move into, let's say white goes into f2, now what black needs to make sure is that it should move into the same file with opposition. So here, black would need to move right here, f6, and now it's an odd number of squares between the 2 kings, and so now it's going to be a draw. Because if white, for example, were to move forward 1 rank, then black will simply follow. And if white were to move to e3, then black would move into e5. And so this is going to be a draw. So, like I said, it's very critical that in this particular scenario that it's white's turn to act, because that allows white to get into the 4th rank and control the critical square, and thereby eventually using the tempo to gain the opposition and getting in front of the pawn and then advancing the pawn. So that's important here.